So yeah, let's JuJutsu 128.
Yeah, and it's part 45, the Shibuya incident. Yeah, man. I was pretty sad with Mekumaru, man. I mean, even when he died, but I was actually pretty happy he came back. But knowing, it's not really him anymore. Well, like a lot of him left,
Yeah.
really.
So I guess the first big thing is in this chapter we're seeing. I guess we already thought we kind of had the final goodbye with Mekamaru, but it's come back the second time around in this pseudo alive form due to his curse technique.
Yeah.
He really wasn't a really developed character, but I did find his plight kind of interesting because his body was all messed up. He was living in that whole, like room that was essentially like a hovel.
Yeah.
And he had all those tubes and the water, and he couldn't see sunlight. So I mean, I get it. That's not the type of life anybody would want. That's not the type of life anybody should live, really. That's a horrible quality of life, and he partnered with the cursed beings to get out of there. And when he did, he turned on them, which I thought was pretty cool. I wasn't really expecting that. But
I was pretty excited.
Other really than that turnaround moment, he doesn't get a lot of time to shine, and I think.
I mean, I disagree. I mean, like when it comes to I don't know. When it comes to JuJutsu, the characters are easy to kind of like get and understand, and then even if it's like one backstory, you kind of like I get it and I enjoy it because like when he faced against Panda, or even like towards his like demise when he got his body in his like giant ass mech suit and everything, and what really was actually sad when he basically when we thought he was just like bit the dust the first time around, like for real, before he became like a comms. The girl that he's talking to, Miwa, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right. Like she was just in the room, like in like a waiting room, and she was just like talking to like an empty, tusk.
Oh,
like,
the suit, yeah.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, maybe maybe I should like hang out. Like we should come visit you or something like that, or like we should hang out." And I was like, "Oh, it's so sad because like she doesn't know."
Just died.
Yeah. And so it's nice to at least it's a roundabout way, like okay, he could finally say like goodbye and stuff like that to her, because it was pretty sad. Cause like it's so it's so brutal. So.
Yeah, I feel you. I think it's kind of cool that he gets, I guess, a little bit of like a secondary redemption arc, if you will.
Oh, for sure.
Because
yeah.
He ends up being super clutch here, right?
Oh, and also with Itadori against the one of the Womb brothers, that guy, the blood dude.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he helps him like have a plan and stuff like that, and he was surprised that he was still alive. So.
Oh yeah, he's like, "You're still there?" Yeah. Okay. No, for sure. I kind of liked it because as I kind of mentioned, I feel he didn't have too much character development, and I like that he gets incorporated back into the story to kind of give him that extra little longevity and relevance. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I also like how he didn't really get the chance to address this kind of relationship that he was trying to protect her and all that type of stuff. They were like, I guess, hinting at it previously a little bit that there was kind of a relationship starting to form there.
Yeah, they were like he liked her, she liked her, but they're teenagers and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if I had to rehash it really quickly, I guess I liked that he got a little bit of a redemption arc.
Yeah.
It was great to see them address his, not ever resolved relationships and kind of give them a little bit of closure. He gets to kind of address his love. He tries to protect his senpais and all that type of stuff. And it was kind of funny for me because what I was going to kind of bounce off of you is I didn't really realize that I was wondering where all of these other characters were until it was pointed out that they weren't there, because I was so invested in, okay, like, where is this going? Is Gojo going to get out of the prison? Oh man, Itadori's breaking. Like, what's going on here? Like, all of those types of things were so in the forefront that to finally get these guys addressed, and they're pissed because they kind of got played, and then all of this was pre-set up by Mekamaru is kind of crazy, actually, when you take all of that together.
Oh yeah.
I mean, were you thinking where were they? Because
I honestly forgot. I honestly forgot. Like I was like, oh man, like I but then again, I guess I should have remembered, like, man, where are the other students? Because it is a big But then again, aren't they the other side of like Tokyo? Aren't they like in the countryside of the other
Yeah, well, they're not all. But I think these guys are from the other school for sure. I'm still wondering though, because have all the upperclassmen been here? I'm just trying to think, because like, yeah, because Panda was doing all of his transformations. Yeah, so I guess everybody from this school is here. So yeah, they didn't really leave the other school to kind of get involved until this instance. It's kind of interesting in all honesty, because since you had all of the other characters from that school, from the one school tied together, I wasn't even thinking about the other one. It was such like a random jump that I was really surprised to think, oh yeah, why aren't these guys there?
Yeah, and I'm happy to see them. So like, I'm curious if are they gonna go help?
Playing a role in this? I don't know.
But he sent Toto, so I'm guessing they're not.
Right? That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because Toto's supposedly the only one that would live, right?
Yeah.
He says, the big gorilla had like a X amount of percent chance versus like, 99% chance that Toto would survive in Shippuden. So that's crazy. So there's literally 1% he's gonna die, and I think based off the way the action kind of proceeds, I don't think we're in that 1% loop, because I guess this is a good way to segue into
the action scenes.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because once again, Toto and Itadori, just this crazy combination that has never failed to just be so cool with the way they interact on like a fight-to-fight basis. When they were taking on the
forest demon, or the forest curse, yeah,
or the nature curse, whatever you want to call it. It was crazy, and then here they are, and they're taking on Mahito, and it's just as crazy. And with every single one of the fights in this series, it's just so well done.
Yeah, it's dynamic. You could understand what's happening with the clap and everything, and the switch, and I mean, even like he's surprised when he switches with a curse doll, or like I guess like a little small, because that thing is
his like transmogged humans or whatever. Yeah, well that's exactly it, right?
And it's pretty cool because like all three are it's 2 against 1, right? And it could have been 2 against 2 actually, but thanks to this girl, kind of like stopped that in its tracks. So that was a good, nice little obviously she's not useless and she's strong, but it was just kind of cool. Like, oh man, he can't he's not. Well, I guess when the chapter continues, like they're finally gonna be at 120%. So.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting though, because they're talking about the damage of the souls, and Kugisaki clearly ended up coming clutch by destroying that other clone. Or not destroying it, but like doing such vital damage from that first hit to the other clone.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a nice little kind of reminder that even if it's interesting, because he actually calls her a nobody.
Yeah.
It literally says like, despite being a nobody, she really like left her mark, and I found that kind of interesting because that made me then question. Oh, maybe it brought up the question again. I guess kind of is she gonna die? Because it's very passive already in the context, so it sounds. I guess he would assume that she's dead. So are we as a reader trying to kind of be led by that as well? I also liked how you mentioned the clap again. The clap is just great again on page 9. It's just the very first part of the page in the top right, and it doesn't interrupt the scene. It's so well placed, and it's great because since you're flipping from page to page, from 8 to 9, and you're seeing this instance of Mahito trying to recover from that position, right?
Yeah.
And then boom, the first thing you see is the clap. So whatever you're gonna see in the rest of this panel, it's switched places. So it's just gonna make sense, as opposed to how I kind of mentioned in our first review that when you're reading some of this stuff, you just lose track in what's going on in the panels. But I just find that never happens here, especially with little incorporations like that.
And of course, Toto does his Black Flash, so that was pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, his version, you know what I mean? And it was a kick and everything, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really well done because he starts questioning himself. He's got the inner monologue going. Where he quotes what he said to Itadori, where he's like, if you're okay with who you are now, our friendship won't last. And he starts questioning himself. He's like, are you going to leave your brother to cry, Toto? Like, are you going to leave him all alone, Toto?
That's a good...
You have to get stronger, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, boom, and then he pulls out the Black Flash, like you mentioned. And that's that's just sick. Like it was such a nice bond to have with like Itadori, and I like that it's kind of like the rivalry that's like getting pushed to one another, but it's not toxic. I found there's so many kind of shonen that play on that trope. There's so much content that plays off that trope. You look at Kingdom Hearts, like Riku it's a toxic relationship, but they're pushing each other forward.
Yeah.
Same obviously with Naruto, stuff like this. And I like that this is a positive instance of that, and like a kind of shonen tropey story.
Yeah, of course, and then you see him with his like soul manipulation and then like body repel, which is actually we've seen that movie before. He done it only like once with like one, I guess, mouth looking thing, but now he done it with multiple, so that's pretty like gross and wretched. But I'm curious, and then obviously like the chapter ends where like they gotta kick it up a notch, and what he says is pretty interesting. Was like, this is our last chance to curse each other. So I'm like, I guess, do you want like what is your end goal? Like, I'm still confused.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's kind of one thing. I guess a true kind of end game for Mahito as like a villain hasn't entirely like been established. I feel he's still kind of playing off
I'm the bad guy
machinations of the head guy. I'm just gonna call him the head curse guy because I can't even think.
Yeah.
We don't have a name for the thing in his head, and that's like what it is. So
yeah.
So I think Mahito's still kind of playing off the machinations of that. So what his true purpose is, other than he kind of wants to clearly get this sort of alive feeling, or to know what his soul is. We don't really know what motivations he has kind of beyond that, so I'm interested about the language.
Yeah, because I mean, like, he's clearly, based off, not based, but like thinking like theories now. He's kind of like, he's obviously a similar appearance to Frankenstein. He's an amalgamation of like different body parts and stuff like that. And and like how Frankenstein came to life and he's like alive, but does he have a soul? Because if you want to talk about that, go to that aspect. But yeah, I'm curious what is his goal? And like I can't even think of a way to like how this fight's gonna end. And like what more? I could see the next chapter. We'll probably like see a little bit of the fight. And we're probably gonna cut somewhere else. If not, it might be just them three fighting each other. But I think we'll cut somewhere else. There's still a lot of like stuff going around in Shibuya, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I like the Frankenstein analogy. It's kind of interesting because you could argue that all of the other curses that we've seen, there's been a very clear relation between the physical appearance and what they relate to. You've got the curse of the sea and all the negativity that goes there, drowning, yada yada yada, right? There's also probably like the hatred of the ocean to an extent, wanting to get back at humans. Same thing with nature, and then as we've kind of spoken about previously, not on recording, but the lava,
the mountain dude, I guess is like the mountain,
the fear of these great disasters and stuff like that. Yeah,
for sure.
But we don't really have kind of that same implications with Mahito. I mean, like, he's a patchwork guy that can like manipulate his body pretty oddly.
And other people's souls. It's like, it's very like, what are you? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he said it before, but like, is it really that? Because I feel like there's more to it.
Yeah, I feel you. It's kind of like there's got to be more to it. Personally, I'm almost in a weird way reminded of like Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Where you don't really know what makes him up. Like, yeah, the bugs come out, but it's like, how did the bugs like form a conscience and all that type of stuff? And he's also a bit of a patchwork character as well. So that's been kind of cool.
But I mean, it's also a manga where it's like the word curse is like it's a physical thing. It's also like a like non-physical thing, but it's also a power level essentially. A power level term. Power level term where it's like, this is my curse. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is my
Especially your special grade curse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
you get ranked.
Yeah, it's definitely the term curse in this manga is very like used for a lot of things. So
yeah, it's very it's fluid.
Like,
it names a lot of things. I feel you.
Like,
so
literally and then figuratively.
Here, right?
You know what I mean? What happened?
Yeah. So again, it's like, what's the connotation here? Like, what's he trying to say by saying this is our last chance to curse each
other?
Like,
let's attack each other with everything we got, or like, do we like literally like, I want to haunt you? So yeah, I'm curious about how that's gonna end. But it's a good chapter. I'm excited for the next one. Still the Shibuya incident. I mean, like this is oof. It's funny that when just my final thoughts. Great chapter overall. I'm excited for the next fight. It's funny that the titles always remind me of JoJo because that's how like he titles his chapters where it's like, or mainly he titles them where it's an enemy and it's like part 1 through 7 or whatever.
Yeah, I feel you.
Like let's say I don't know, like Killer Queen part 4, like Killer Queen part 7. You know, like oh man, is he gonna So it's very easy naming convention, But like you get it because like okay, we're still in this Shibuya incident. We're still in this like Soto's basically war arc, I guess. But like, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, the one thing that I want to mention that we didn't get on recording from last week is the other theory for a Toto domain expansion, being that one of the main things that he kind of does is try and turn like dreams into reality, or he makes up these fake pasts. So I'm wondering if his domain expansion, he just kind of makes reality become whatever. He just has the ability to like freely manipulate it within a certain space. Because it's just kind of these idea of he makes the past exist even though it's not true, and yet somehow you kind of still see like the outcome in the future because he created that fake past for him and Itadori. Now they're friends, kind of thing. He calls them brother. They fight well together. All this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when you look at Gojo's domain expansion, I think it's possible with how crazy into the realm of like physics and space and time and all that sort of thing Gojo's ability gets. I don't see why that kind of something of similar level couldn't happen with Toto.
That's true.
But yeah, that was kind of, I just wanted to bring that up. Other than that, I don't know. There was a lot less implications kind of to be left off of on this one. Mm-hmm. So we'll just have to see where it goes. As you mentioned, they're at 120%. And they're pushing each other beyond the limits, so it's just going to be whose limit breaks. Oh, actually, sorry, there was one other thing.
Yeah.
I love the 2-page spread on, I guess, 14 and 15. Is it a 3-page spread? Well,
no,
yeah,
that's what I mean.
It's the image you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
Itadori has Sukuna vibes in that imagery.
I can see that.
Like, that's way more of like a Sukuna pose to me than it is like an Itadori pose. Just the angle and everything.
Yep.
I don't know why. I was just like, okay, that was kind of very different. I feel that's not a usual face, and I don't know if it's the circumstances. Obviously, like I mean, it literally says 120% on the panels, but I don't know, man. There was something about that. It just, I just got a feeling. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, I get you, man. It's definitely I definitely see it. I mean, I like Toto's face with the kiss. I think that was awesome.
He's just such a badass. He kind of pulls it off. You're like,
he does.
Oh, he just did a black flash. He that's his flex, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
He's just kind of like, I just did this kind of thing. So that's cool.